3 hours. Oddly enough, I'm starting to see history repeat itself somewhat. Not only is this the second middle film to disappoint me this year, but I'm feeling a lot of the same stuff that I felt when I watched The Two Towers during its theatrical run. Mostly a lot of explaining and a lot of scenes of not that much happening. I mean, at least in Two Towers, they had a battle, but even then, it's still just a case of... While the stuff we got with the main party of Bilbo, Thorin, and the dwarves worked pretty well, some of the side stuff, like the stuff with Legolas, Tauriel, and Gandalf's investigation of the Necromancer, really just felt like padding. And before people harp on me, yeah, I know Tauriel's subplot did have a payoff, but it didn't help the fact that all those scenes still felt like padding. They did. They didn't really add that much to the main story that we were following of basically Bilbo and Thorin and the others going to the Lonely Mountain. And so really, that's part of what made the film feel so long. There were just a lot of scenes in there of exposition and character development that just didn't really add anything, just slowed the whole film down. Now, if you really wanted to have Gandalf investigating the Necromancer, don't just take what would essentially just be one complete scene, divide it in half, and just expect us to kind of remember that that was going on after we had been following Bilbo and the others for quite some time, because really the dividing point they have for that scene is very abrupt. It doesn't really give you any feeling of time, really. It's just a case of, okay, he's going into this, now we're gonna go here, and then towards the end of the, oh yeah, he's still doing this. Even though it would have just been better to just have the scene play out uninterrupted in its entirety, just so that we just see how that whole thing goes. That was another thing that bothered me, is that some of the stuff that was supposed to be going on at the same time didn't really feel that way. It just felt like we were essentially seeing a separate movie intercut into the movie we were watching, and that also was a bit annoying. When it comes to the effects of the film, well, it just didn't really feel like Weta was on their A game this time. I mean, Smaug looked pretty impressive, he emoted well, he was a good creature. Weta is really good with creatures, but you can tell they were kind of at a disadvantage when they had to create almost wholly digital sets, particularly in the Lonely Mountain, the kingdom with all the treasure and everything. You could just tell that they weren't good at creating set dressing and backgrounds and stuff, and it really shows in the third act. And that pretty much summarizes a lot of the stuff in this film, is that it had a strong start, but then as you get into literally the third hour, things just kind of start falling apart, both in terms of story and effects. Some of the scenes with Smaug felt like a cutscene you would see if you were playing Skyrim. And that's not a compliment. It's just a case of so much animation. It's kind of the same case, or if you have an illusion on the frame for too long, we start to notice the fakeness of it, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. Again, Smaug was impressive, but a lot of the other effects surrounding Smaug just didn't look that good. Another problem I had with the visuals is that the visual tone was kinda iffy. I mean, at the beginning of the film, it's good for the most part, and to use the previous film as an example, although the locations in the previous Hobbit film were you still got the same feeling that they were all part of the same world. With this film, you get that at the beginning, but when they go into the lake town just doesn't match the setting at all. I mean, yes, I get it, it's supposed to be a poor lake town, but having it completely devoid of color really clashes with the type of aesthetic that they were setting up in the previous film and throughout most of this film. Kind of goes along with the same sort of problem that I keep addressing. Has a really strong start, but then towards the end, it just kind of falls apart. Overall, while the film does deliver somewhat on the story and the acting, the visuals and just the overall feeling of length and padding this film have just don't make it a very satisfying experience. And because the story is so padded, it makes the cliffhanger ending really frustrating, because it's just a case of, I literally waited 3 hours just for that? That's what I kept thinking. Because unlike the previous one, where it had a nice bit of an ending point, like a clear stopping point that left you feeling satisfied, here it does the annoying type of cliffhanger where it leaves things off unresolved, like saying, oh, you gotta wait until the next movie. And it's just, gah. If you didn't want us actually to see Smaug defeated, you shouldn't have even shown Smaug in the film at all. You should have saved that for the third film if that's what you were building up to. So really, it's a decent film. The Tolkien fans are probably going to enjoy it, but as a moviegoer, I just wasn't satisfied. I did not get my money's worth with this film. That said, I give The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, it's weird. Anyway, I give the film a 3.5 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. As for next week, tune in Tuesday for my review of Grudge Match. See ya then.